Hi Gemini, welcome to Yellow Cardinal Tarot with me. My name is Carole. This is going to be a general reading for you, and there's no date on my reading because I trust that when it comes into your feed, it's meant for you. And so Gemini, in today's reading, we're going to be doing the blind spot, and it's a reading that I started actually a few weeks ago, and then I hit a period of healing in my life, and I knew I had to get back to these readings. So here I am for you with your reading today, Gemini. We're going to be using a couple decks, and in particular, I'm going to start off with a deck, an oracle deck. I've already pulled a card for you, and it's from the Blind Spot oracle cards from Teal Swan. And her oracle cards are a little bit different than any other oracle deck I've seen because they have these sigils on them. And these sigils actually look like a symbol, but Teal Swan wanted to make it really clear that they're not symbols. What they represent is she wanted to say that these are they have magical powers to them. And so what they do is they're going to allow you, when I've pulled them for you, they're going to allow you to see, bring awareness to something that you need to see in your life, right? So what's the blind spot? What is it that you need to see that's going on? And so I'm going to challenge you a bit in this reading, because oftentimes when we have a blind spot, and if someone points it out to you, like I'm going to be doing in this reading, our ego can kick in sometimes and say, oh, I don't have that. That's not true. And so I think step back a bit and ask yourself, okay, what is she really saying here? Is there a possibility that this is happening for me and this is going on in my life? So I'm going to talk about this in a second because I've picked that already. I looked at it. It's interesting because your particular card has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages of explanation about it. And it's not 5 pages with big writing. This is the size of the writing. I don't know if you can see it, but it's very, very small. And so I had to sift through that and figure out, okay, what do I need to say to you that I think it's important? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Ehrenberg Tarot, and I'm going to look at what situation, issue, decision are you dealing with right now in relation to this blind spot oracle card that I've pulled. And then we're going to look at, all right, so this is a situation you're sitting in. What is coming up from your shadow that needs healing? So we're going to be doing some shadow work here, and it's very important that we look at our own shadow, our unconscious, because those are the things that we've buried from our childhood and adolescence, and those are the things that they'll come up for healing, and they're going to be what are causing certain things in our life to happen. And once we start to recognize that, that's when we know we're healing, right? We're on this road, we're healing. And then I'll look at what guidance does the tarot have for you, and or have for us to look at for you. And then I will suggest a video that I've done on my other channel called Carole Cares. And there's a lot of videos I've put on there just for your own use to go and look at them, things that will really help you with your own healing journey. And so let's begin with the card that I picked for you, and it was number 24, and it's called Separation. So if you've drawn this sigil, you are seeing yourself as separate to others as well as the world around you. You are seeing yourself as different, and you have either forgotten or are denying that the outside is a reflection of the inside, and vice versa. You are not seeing that you are a part of the universe and the universe is a part of you. You are not seeing that what is happening in your external world is a reflection of you. And I think that says a lot, but I'm just going to pick a few more things she said. We think of a person as having one personality, often with contradictory traits. But the truth is that your personality is made up of several personalities. The most dominant ones are the ones that protect us from hurt, especially rejection, in the specific environment that we grew up in. That's fascinating. So everything that you perceive to be separate from you or external to you is in fact just a reflection of an aspect of you. It's part of you. This reality is designed in this way so we can have total and complete self-awareness. Wow. So I'm hoping to be able to, what is it that is showing up in your external world? We're going to look at that and how that's what you need to look at, because that's something maybe you've rejected from yourself, from your own personality, for your own protection, right? When we do that when we're younger. And that's what the shadow is all about, right? These things that we had to put away. If people said things about us, for example, people said things about us when we were younger, told us things that weren't true. Well, we shoved those down because for our own protection, right? Because people were not approving of who we were. And so if, we have to get rid of those traits. And so we start to see those in other people because it's reflecting back to us what we need to heal. And I've often done, like, one of the readings that I do on this channel is called the mirror reading, where I actually take a look at, let's look at what's going on in your outer world right now, because it is a reflection of you, and she talks about right at the beginning how, everything in us is out there and everything out there is in us. And once you kind of see that, start to play around with that and look at, synchronicities around you, and start to look at your universe and see how that really plays out. And so we're gonna see how this plays out for you. So let's begin with asking the tarot for what situation, issue, decision that you're facing right now, Gemini, that in relation to this sigil of separation. And this one wanted to come out. I will say when I was ready to pull out a card for you, that one fell out, this number 24. So, and it was like, okay, this needs to fall out right now. This is what you need to look at. So your situation is the Strength card right now. What's coming up from my shadow, from your shadow that needs healing? What's coming up from Gemini's shadow that needs healing right now? What's sitting in their unconscious? Oh, you have 3 of them. All right. You have the Hangman in reverse. You have the 9 of Swords. And then you have the 5 of Swords in reverse. So we'll take those 3. I'm going to say this deck is pretty good at... Actually, you know what? I said I was going to use the Ehrenberg Tarot, but I pulled the Curious Travels deck. So I'm using the Curious Travels deck right now. I was thinking, I hadn't been using the Curious Travels in my other readings, and I was like, I'm going to try something different. And I was like, no, I guess we're not. All right. So, and yeah, this deck's pretty good at I'd only spitting out 1 card at a time for me, and it spit out 3. So I knew I needed to take them. What guidance does the tarot have for you right now? 1 card. Well, I'm going to pick not those 3, but this one that's come up. 2 of Swords. Right after I said that it only spits out 1 at a time, you know it was going to make me a liar. Okay. I'm going to use the Radiant Rider-Waite deck to clarify. So let's have a couple cards for the Strength card. Tell me more about the Strength card for Gemini here, for what situation, issue, decision they're sitting with in relation to the separation. Couple cards. There we go. So you have the 2 of Wands, which I think was in reverse. And then you have the Queen of Wands. I'm going to leave the middle deck, and I think we're good with 3 cards. Two of Swords. Tell me some more about the Two of Swords. There we go. Those come out nice and quickly. Knight of Wands in reverse and the Page of Pentacles in reverse. Okay. Well, what situation are you sitting with? You have the Strength card, a major arcana card for you. And interesting how this woman is very comfortable sitting in the lion's paws, right? You can see her right at the bottom here. It just kind of had a flash of something that was in the news lately of someone that used a trainer. I don't know if he was a trainer, but he had a lion, and the lion ended up taking his life. And so it was just like, what is... I don't know why I needed to say that, but it was like, I don't know if you're in a situation right now where you're feeling swallowed up by something or someone else, right? And you're needing some inner strength here. You're needing some inner strength. And, you know, this talks about, it's not talking about physical strength at all or bravery. And I mean, I guess what this card is referring to is the ability to be able to go inwards and get the answers for yourself rather than relying on other people. So I'm just wondering if you're in a situation right now where you're relying heavily on other people around you for advice, for direction in your life. And this card is coming out to say to you, Gemini, you have the strength to go inwards, to find your own answers about any situation that you're sitting in right now. But I think you just, I don't think you're aware. I don't think you think that you have it, right? Maybe the people are around you, you believe, or you've been, the word trained, you know, we're talking about the lion trainer. The word trained is coming out, and I'm thinking you've been trained to believe from a young age that these certain people around you were the ones that had all the wisdom for you, had all the knowledge. And so are you in a situation right now, like I said, where you're relying on people heavily, where it's time to kind of go, okay, I need to have my own autonomy. I need to be me. I need to be able to think for myself. And then you have two clarifiers behind it, is the Two of Wands, and it's in reverse. In an upright position, the Two of Wands speaks about this individual that is getting this kind of nudge to move into a different direction. And I'm seeing here that this is your case, where you're feeling the nudge to kind of, you know, pull away from these people. But it's in reverse here. So there's some real fear. There's some real fear on your part to pull away from these people because you've relied on them for so long. Whether it's an intimate partner, whether it's a group of friends maybe that you belong to. You know, sometimes we can have the same friends that we've had for like ever, right? And maybe you've outgrown them, but it's just like, how do I pull away from these people and how do I become me? Very interesting. I was at, I attended a drum circle last night, and it was just fascinating because the people that walked in the door, I went in by myself, but they all had a partner with them. And I assumed it was their spouse, and for some of them, and others it was like they brought a friend. And every time I've gone to certain things like that, because I go on my own now, I notice that people always bring someone with them, just like to hold on to, right? And maybe that's your situation where, you know, you just can't do things on your own. You've got to have somebody beside you to hold on to. And then the Queen of Wands comes out, and the Queen is the feminine side to us. And she has these beautiful feminine qualities that we all have inside of us that have been buried, you know, for decades. And she represents the wand. She represents that wand of creativity, that wand of being so comfortable in your own skin, being able to go out and do what you want to do. And so she's here for you, saying, you know, she's supporting you right now, saying, you know, you have this in you to make that break from whatever it is. Like I said, if it's a family member, somebody that you've been around for a long time, that you're realizing, you know, I need to go on, I need to be on my own. Like, and I don't mean necessarily on your own, physically it could be, but it's like, I have to have my own thoughts. I have to be able to make my own decisions. And so that's where you're sitting right now, where you're kind of feeling that, I think I'm meant to go, you know, my own way. Yeah, so we're going to try to pull in that separateness that you're thinking, and I can, you know, the separateness as seeing, you know, there's this mirror out there for you that you're seeing, maybe that, you know, you can't do this. And that's the situation that you're in. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to look at your shadow. And the shadow is going to tell me, you know, without even looking at it, I'm hoping it's going to tell me, you know, why is it like this? Like, what is it that when you were younger that you felt like you couldn't be alone? You always had to have people around you. You always relied on someone else. And so let's look at where that's coming from. So the hangman comes out first for you. And the hangman is this individual that in an upright position, he's hanging upside down. He has no pain on his face at all. He's quite comfortable in that position, right? And I think when we are younger, really, really young, we're quite comfortable coming into this world, right? We're very comfortable in our own skin, very comfortable being who we are, until, you know, at a very young age, we start to have people that tell us, well, you know, you can't do this. You're not allowed to do this. You wouldn't be able to do that. And so we start to form this image of ourselves. And, you know, maybe in your case, it's like you were told that you can't think by yourself. Maybe people thought for you. Maybe people felt for you, right? We can have people tell us that we can't feel certain emotions. Well, they're feeling for us. Like, why can't I be a crybaby? Why can't I be angry? Why can't I act like this? I remember a boy in my grade 8 class who I liked, who I was acting really silly. And I remember him making a comment to me about the way I was acting. And ever since that point, I was told, right, that acting silly like that was, you know, didn't look good, or, you know, and so you pull that back, right? You put that away, you shove that away, and you always remember that. And so when I would act silly as an adult, I'd always get that message like, you know, you're not allowed to act like this, Carol. What are you being silly for? Because I was told when I was younger that you know, I wasn't allowed to do that. And so I think you learned at a young age not to be comfortable in your own skin, not to rely on yourself, because other people were telling you that, that's not really the right way to do things, or you don't know how to do that. And so you stopped relying on yourself. You stopped having confidence in yourself. And then you have the 9 of Cups right after that. I did call it the 9 of Swords at the beginning. Yes, when I pulled it out, but no, it's the 9 of Cups. Sometimes it's the picture, I think, when I see that looks like swords, but now I can see it's cups at the top. And I think I might have mixed up this card before because of the picture. But I'm not mixing them up right now. The 9 of Cups comes out. The 9 of Cups talks about this individual that's kind of, and I think I'm right with not feeling comfortable about your emotions, because the 9 of Cups, the Cups, first of all, is all about our emotions. And the 9 of Cups talks about this individual that's sitting there. It hasn't reached the 10, right? The 10 is when we get to that full cycle, with the end of the cups, and you're not quite there yet. But here you are, putting up these boundaries. It's almost like you've been taught certain emotions that you're not allowed to have or not allowed to use. And so you've had to put up these boundaries for yourself, almost like this wall saying, all right, it's not safe to use my emotions. Things like if you've been rejected or, because you've used your emotions, well, you know what? I'm not going there again, right? And so I think there's this part of you, this inner strength that you're being called to bring into your awareness, to say you have this in you, you have this strength to walk away from whatever the situation is, right? To get on your own, to be on your own, to think on your own, right? And I think for your sign, like this whole thing about thinking on your own, Gemini, you are the sign of I think. And I know that oftentimes you can have a knowledge about a lot of things in the world, like maybe some of you are really good at trivia, right? But we're going to go a little bit deeper here, and I'm going to make you think a little bit here, and I'm going to say, okay, let's start thinking. Let's start, rather than thinking in our head all the time, right? Because oftentimes we can spin on things usually. It's time to now, when I talk about the strength card, like I said, it's like an inner strength card, right? It's time to go deeper into ourselves and find out, what do I know? What do I know? Well, I know that when I was younger, I wasn't allowed to, use my emotions. I think I was burned when I was younger trying to use my emotions. And the last card here is the Five of Swords in reverse in an upright position. You see this card, this individual that's just been through this battle. And I often call this card my bullying card, right? And it's a card of feeling like you don't matter. And I think you were very much bullied when you were younger, because I see here that this is in reverse, to the point where you've kind of gone into that shell. You've kind of don't feel like you have that inner strength or that self-worth to do anything on your own. And maybe you were somebody that was bullied when you were younger. Maybe you were bullied on the playground and bullied at home. Sometimes we could be a bully ourselves when we've been bullied, right? So, and I'm wondering if, now that I see this strength card and I talked about maybe you're with somebody that you realize, I need to start thinking on my own now. It could be a situation now where you're being bullied by someone else. You could be controlled by someone else right now. You could be sitting in a relationship where you're being controlled. And it's hard when you're in that situation, because if that was you when you were younger, if you were controlled when you were younger, if you were bullied when you were younger, well, guess what? We're going to continue that pattern when we get older, because that's the norm for us. That's all we know. And so to do anything different would be very difficult for us, right? Because we don't know. And I'm talking me, because I say us because I've been through this situation where, you don't recognize the situation that you're in is actually repeating something from your childhood. And so it's very important that you look at, okay, this is my situation that's going on right now, that I'm in, but it's a reflection of something in me, and it's something in your buried deep in your unconscious, and this is what we just got to when you were younger. And so what's the guidance for you? What does the tarot have for you right now? What guidance? Well, you have the Two of Swords here, right? And I think you have to realize that there's a part of you that has really crossed your heart. This card, this Two of Swords, is often portrayed with somebody crossing these swords, and it's protecting their heart. And so I think what's happened with you is that you've protected your heart and you don't want to go inwards anymore, because you're protecting those emotions that you had when you were younger and you weren't allowed to have. And so there's a part of you that's very much up in your head. You're still up in your head right now, because our ego likes to keep us up in our head. because there's no emotions there. And so the universe wants you to really look at how you've been up in your head for a long time now. And I heard this beautiful saying from my own therapist when I was saying something to her, and she said, you know, Carole, you can't control your mind with your mind. And I thought, wow, in the 8 years I've been with her, she's never said that to me. You know, we like to think we can control things with our mind, but we can't control the mind with our mind. And that's fascinating. And so, you know, the question, that begets the question, well, how do we control our mind? Well, we go to our heart. We get back in our bodies and we ground. And I think this card is saying, you know, Gemini, you've been up in your head for a long time, you know, thinking, lots of thinking, right? But the Knight of Wands is here, and I think there's this, the Knight of Wands is like this part of you that's, I call it a freedom fighter that wants the freedom. It wants freedom from this control that has been over you, Gemini, for so long, whether it's still happening right now, it happened when you were younger, but this Knight is ready to go with his wand, right? But he's in reverse, so I'm wondering sometimes if you're sitting with like a lot of hopelessness around the situation. If you're feeling a lot of hopelessness, you know, if you're feeling depression, well, a lot of it has to do with how you felt when you were younger, when you were in this bullying situation, this controlling situation, and you couldn't get out. But you're an adult now and you can get out of this. You can start to think on your own now. You have that inner strength. You can go inwards and you can find this new direction that you're wanting to go into, because here's this part of you that wants the freedom. And then you have the Page of Pentacles in reverse. Well, the Page is an inner child of yours, and it's bringing you this gift of the Pentacle. The Pentacle is the earth element, the grounding element, the one that it's your body. The Pentacle is your body. It says, Gemini, you've forgotten about your body. You need to go inwards into your body. You know, you have your swords crossing your heart. It's like, oh, I've been hurt. I've been bullied. And I don't want to go inwards anymore because I don't want to feel any of this stuff, right? Well, there's an inner child here that's pulling on your pant leg saying, Gemini, I need you to listen to me. I need healing. There's an inner child of yours that needs healing, that wants to feel some of these emotions that it wasn't allowed to feel when it was younger, when it was bullied and controlled, right? And so there's a real need for you to get back into your body and go back to that heart that was wounded so deeply when you were younger. And I like to sit in a chair and quietly and feel my feet and pay attention to my breathing and think about my heart when I was younger and how it was hurt. And just let that grieving go. Just let yourself grieve. Just let yourself grieve, Gemini. I want you to have compassion for yourself, Gemini, for what you're working through. This is a very difficult journey, but it's the most important journey of your life, your healing journey. So I'm going to leave you with some playlist on how to ground yourself, Gemini, so you can get back to your heart. All right? Talk soon. Bye-bye.